Good afternoon, guys. Not much to cover today. Pretty much just a day of, I guess, setups that just kind of fell apart. They were all swing setups, so I'm not too upset. But yeah, nonetheless, a red day. Finished at about 380 to 410, somewhere in that range in terms of my P&L being negative, which isn't bad, right? I mean, I would have had to have gone full tilt in order to give up Monday or Tuesday's gains. So I've mitigated it, and that's all I can ask for. But really, it was just a series of collective swings that all kind of just fell apart after instant success. Obviously, I didn't want to trim just because I saw success. I have targets and stop losses that I wanted to remain or abide by. Zom was the first one here. This was the biggest hit, I would say. But really, it all stemmed from last week. I took this on Friday. I was hoping for a close over, right, this 114.09 level. And if you guys were curious about 114.09 and what it was, the simple bullish progression gap that we were looking for it to hold for a second time, right? Obviously, we broke through, we pulled back, and obviously tested it here back on May 3rd and had a really nice bounce off of that. Although that bounce was high volume, it did lead to a third consecutive lower high, and it started to push for a new low. I was hoping that it would still hold 114 and we might see one more last push back up towards this gap from 117.46 to 117.78. That's this little gray zone here. And really, I mean, I was going to give it the weekly. It closed underneath, but I saw the 21 EMA here on the weekly, and I was like, dang, this looks really good, especially considering the sell-off too. This was a pretty extreme bar, but the volume itself was pretty low. And we started to see solar heat up, right? Along with tech giving some bearish indication, especially from how a lot of the charts looked. So I was thinking we might see a sector rotation for those that miss solar that might flee into oil or commodities with tech selling off. And it just didn't really give us the move we were wanting, right? I'm just going to be honest. So initially, I got into that position with like 3 contracts. I was just kind of holding it. That's why I was able to let it kind of break or close underneath 114 on the weekly. And I just wanted to give it a little leanway. And then obviously Tuesday when the market opened, this is a shorter week, so we don't have Monday. But Tuesday, we ended up printing these tweezers here. We sold a little bit lower, but held within Friday's low. So I kind of stuck into this. I probably should have added here. Could have had a much better average. But I didn't want to add into that because the whole thesis was a claim above 114, right? So we ended up getting a really nice rally. We made a higher high, and then we pulled back really nicely. Volume still stayed relatively low. I mean, ZOM has been trading with low volume this entire time, so it's kind of hard to get a feel for it. But we got this nice little pullback on diverging volume and retested 114.09. Right, so this is where I actually added into this trade, and then we got a nice pop out for a new high, and then we retested 115. I was hoping we'd get the 115 close above. I think we would have had a much stronger hold. But unfortunately this morning, right, we kind of opened above 114, sold under, retested it, and then just sold, and we made a new low, right? This is not something I wanted to see. We actually ended up breaking underneath 113, which was Friday's low. It was Tuesday's low. And I saw most of my drawdown on my account from this, right? So I was like, I really don't, want to be a part of this anymore. And I kind of just closed it out. I felt like it was testing my thesis a little bit too much. And there was a lot of opportunity for me to kind of change or move the goalposts, and I don't want to be a part of those trades. Usually your best trades will see instant success. Or maybe just a little bit delayed success, right? You don't want to keep moving the goalpost to make it fit your narrative or whatever your thesis is. So, pretty unfortunate, but this is part of the game. Just ended up kind of, failing after it had that really nice close yesterday off 114. So, bulk of my losses came from this. And then, what was the other one? Oh, Mara. I'll try to do this all in one take. Mara is pretty interesting as well. I mean, it still has like not the worst close in the world considering the volume. This might look a little iffy because I kind of adjusted some of the stuff. It's however you want to do it, right? It doesn't really matter because it's all wicks here. But essentially, we were holding, once again, this bullish progression gap right here, right? If we kind of pull from here to here, right? This whole zone, we were kind of looking to hold. I took it to the open of that candle. So this zone, we were looking for buyers to hold before we can get a nice move back above. I was looking for a trend line break that has confirmation to obviously potentially add in this trade, but also stay in this trade. And I wanted to see momentum and high volume on the break through that trend line, right? Unfortunately, right, same exact thing. I had like 5 contracts, or I think I had initially 7, and then I added 3, so I got to a total of 10 that I said I was going to hold. But we ended up getting in, I think, here, and we had instant success. We went like 15% on the first day, which we took this on Friday. And then obviously the next day, right, we opened low, high, or no, yeah, open, low, high, and then we ended up failing and had a close way down here. But we initially got the breakout through the trend line, and I thought we were good to go. I think this position saw like 18 to 23%, if I'm not wrong. But once again, I wasn't really looking to trim this. I didn't have enough size to trim it. I think I was up like $90 to $110. It's not worth it in my opinion. And the target was obviously 24.61. That's why we took the $25 strike. And I was like, okay, at least we closed above, 20.42, which is that green line, which is the bullish progression gap that I was talking about right here, the green line. But today, once again, we kind of had a very weak open where we opened underneath the level. We tried to recover back into the range. We pushed down, held the range with 1 15-minute bar, and then instantly sold off, retested the low, had kind of a double bottom. But then if you guys can see, right, we were now printing intraday lower highs, right? We had our high here. Okay, next thing, what do we have? Lower high. Right, then we broke back down, retested the lows here, but now we're like underneath 20.42. We're retesting that as a resistance with like a 2-bar bear flag. I didn't want to see another lower low, so I kind of just cut this like right around this range here, somewhere in here. So took a loss on that one. I think it was 27%. I lost like 70 to $90. It wasn't anything bad actually. So that wasn't bad, and I mean that's just kind of off the table for now. I'll have to wait for Bitcoin to give me a sign, because that's why I don't really like miners in coin, because it's like not so much about the chart itself. It's you have to also take into consideration how Bitcoin's looking and almost double whammy it whenever you're looking at it. Bitcoin's just been consolidating here. I'm not too sure what's going to happen. I like potential break of structure here, right at 67,272. Could get a launch pad off of that. Hopefully it would make a new high, but as of now, it's just kind of something I don't want to be a part of. So I took that loss, and then we'll see how this one's looking. This is a weird one. Starbucks, right? And if you guys remember, we had a really good trade on this when I was on vacation, where I was talking about how I was looking for this, right? So let's get some of my lines here. I'll remove that. But remember, we had the flag where we were like, okay, we're looking for this to push up into 76.99, which is the top of the earnings gap or the mother bar candle, and then we were looking for it to sell off on diverging volume to give us that flag look. We ended up getting that here. I know some of you guys entered somewhere in here. I waited for the breakout and then the initial 1-bar pullback. Remember, this isn't like a structural pullback. This is just a 1-bar touch and go. But I did enter while I was on vacation here, and then we had this really nice move off of this spot here, right? We made a new high. Obviously went into the earnings gap down, and it was about a 5% move on the underlying, or $4. Really nice. But now, as you guys can see, right, we got a breakout, 1-bar pullback, breakout, and then we actually are now getting our structural pullback, right? This isn't a structural pullback where I entered. This is just a 1-bar touch and go. Obviously, as you kind of break out again and you start to get multiple days that give you that higher low, that's your more structural pullback. Obviously, the EMAs have caught up as well. You guys can see, but today it just kind of failed, right? I don't really know what to say. We printed an inverted hammer, obviously right off of the level itself. Volume is still relatively low as well, but this was a strange one. If you guys were actually looking at this, I was just like, hey, I'm going to take a couple contracts. I took like a handful. I took like 3 initially, and I was just like testing it out. I took weekly contracts, which I haven't done in a really long time, and I took them right here. Okay, as it kind of pulled down, if you guys pull your fibs from low to high, you guys will see that's literally where I took it. Kind of caught the 618. We gave kind of tweezer look here on the 15, and we had an instant move up, and they did not budge. Contracts did not budge. It was the weirdest thing. I think they went like 8% at this high here, and then as it started to trickle down, it didn't even break underneath the 618. They instantly lost about 40%, 50% of their value. They went from plus 8% to down 10, which I'm kind of cool with considering it's a weekly contract. These can fluctuate quite a bit, and it wasn't even that spready. A lot of these, like these names will have like big bid-ask spreads. This wasn't that spready, but as soon as it started to break down just a little bit, I think it was like within. I'll have to go within this 5. I think it was like right here, right? As it kind of pushed up, it kind of pulled back down. these instantly went neg 40%, like to 48%. It was the most bizarre thing. I don't know what happened. I didn't really see what happened. I probably should have gone and looked at the option itself. But I was so light in my size, I didn't really care that much. But I was like, holy crap, I don't really understand what's happening. And then it broke through and knifed, and then these went down about 60 to 70%, and then they slowly pulled down and consolidated right at 76.99. I was going to add into this into the close and just make it like a lotto position at this point, because there's no way, with the size that I had with 3 contracts, there's no point of like holding that, in my opinion, and not adding to it, because if I just hold 3 contracts at negative 60%, it's there's no way it's going to be profitable, right? I'd have to average that down at some point. If I didn't, right, let's say this gets some kind of miraculous squeeze and it goes to 79, which I thought it could make a new high here. I'm only gonna make like $30, right? $40, unless something crazy happens. But actually didn't add into this. I just didn't feel like it was worth it. So I'll probably let these expire worthless. These were like, what did I take them? I think I spent like $150 in this. So, well, unless it gets like a crazy open, I can add into this. I just don't think it's worth it. So this will be another loss tomorrow. So all in all, man, I had 3 losses today, which I'm okay with, right? Because 2 of them were failed swing trades. And then the one win I had today was QQQ. I mentioned it here, like they were looking for a potential drop into 454 to 438.81, or 430 or 453.81. I'm sorry, the 2 blue lines down here. Why were those levels relevant? Right, it's pretty simple. It was dark pool prints here at 454, 453.81. And it was at the bottom of this high volume bar here, right? This is also the bottom of the current shelf of the current range. I don't really like this chart until we can get underneath this green line. If we break under the green line, this is the old external high. This will look a lot like a UTAD, right? Where we can have our higher time frame be this, right? And all of that could ultimately end up being a wick and some kind of liquidity sweep over the top that really trap buyers. And then if we break back underneath the green line, right, we're back in the old range. This whole spot here, if you guys can't tell, right, didn't have much consolidation. There's a very what's the right word? Thin amount of bids here. It really hasn't been bid, right? There's not a lot of volume here. So I think if we can break back underneath 449.34, we'll trade through these days from the 3rd of May to the 14th very quickly. I think we can get something like this if we do break down, right? We come here, retest the old external high, and I think we can just like kind of flush, not like that, but make our way here, right? And then what would I be targeting, right? It would be the gap down here from 432.62 to 426.90. And like I said, this is setting up pretty nicely. I just don't want to front run it. I tried to front run not long ago. When was it? It was CPI. Right, yeah, during vacation as well, and I got cooked on those. So probably just going to wait for it to break under 449.34. Going to take a little bit of patience here, but ideally Nvidia sells off Apple, and a lot of the tech names like Meta doesn't look good either. So there is potential here for that to happen. But back to the trade itself, right? I was hoping that we would sell down into those dark pool prints right off the open, and then I was going to look to go long, right? I was hoping it would do something like this, kind of build out a trend, and then start to progressively make our way up, yada, yada, yada. But that didn't happen. If we go back to the 5, we ended up kind of just pushing up initially, and then we consolidated and really made a pretty, I would say, a pretty good 15-minute low here, right? Or I should say like 30-minute low, but really just kind of held here at the EMAs on the 5. I don't even need to pull them up. I know they're here. And clear wicks coming from buyers. They were trying to prevent the pre-market low from being tagged. So I just took them here, kind of risked the intraday low at 455.33. We got a nice breakout. We pulled back. This is where I mentioned that we could flag and break out again, right? And then this is where we had that crazy kind of squeeze. I'm going to go to the 1 minute. Don't judge me. I was just doing this for visuals for you guys. But we ended up kind of breaking the flag right there. I think this was what it looked like initially. Oh, man. I don't know how it looked when I had it initially drawn. It was like something like that, right? But we basically broke out, retested the flag, right? Which I rarely ever do. I hate trading like that. I don't think trading like that's very accurate and it's not reliable, especially using subjective trend lines. But it was weird how it worked out. I mean, it did break out, it pulled back onto the flag trend line, and then it made a new high, and then pulled back, and then continued higher. Really, I was targeting this up here. If you guys didn't know, there was another dark pool print that was here. Yeah, yeah, right there. 458.33. So that's what I was targeting. It came in pre-market, and that was pretty much it. You guys can see it pretty much. That was the high. That's when I told you guys I was out. I was looking for 458. Just round down to the institutional number, and that's essentially all I was looking for. And that was about like a 30% win, I want to say. And that mitigated ZOM a little bit, but overall, right, I mean, had I not taken that, I probably would have been red by about 600 to 700, as I made like 350 on that. But it is what it is, guys. These days happen. I always try to mitigate them. And the thing is, and I always talk about it, the key to not letting these days get out of hand is just kind of understanding, like, hey, I took my shots on some things. A couple swings already put me in the hole. If there's not anything that I currently like or I plan for, I should not trade. Because you're going to start seeing stuff because you just are forcing it, right? You want to see stuff, and you're going to try to dig yourself out of that hole, or you're going to try to put trades on that you shouldn't put in, and usually it doesn't go the right way, right? I'm notorious for it too. This is when I do lose, is I'll like run out of options or exhaust my options for what I want to trade when I'm ready, or I feel like people are bored, and I'll go look at flow, right? And flow is the fucking devil. I promise you guys, it's not your trade plan, it's not your idea. You don't know risk, you don't know if it's a head. There's just so many things that can go wrong with flow. So I mean, like, everyone's guilty of it, and everyone gets bored. But if you exhaust your options and you're red, just kind of let the red day happen, right? Just kind of let it figure out what happened, what went wrong, how you could have improved it, and then start looking at daily candles and start looking at setups that are formulating for the next day, right? Or if you potentially want to swing, if something shows up on the daily that looks way better, or an hourly that's fitting into a daily, do that, right? I mean, that's a little bit better than kind of finding stuff that's on a 1 minute, a 5 minute to quickly make back your money. Those usually never go well. Like I said, I mean, it even happened to me today. Starbucks was something I probably shouldn't have taken. Luckily, I had the wits about me to not go very heavy at all. I only took, like I said, a handful. I took 3, and then I added 2 to 5. So, I mean, it is what it is. But I got away unscathed, and I could live to see another day. And if you come off like a big win, man, like I told you guys, I usually don't try not to share exactly how much I make because I feel like it's weird. Like, I'm not trying to make people seem like you can make that much, or that I'm flaunting or anything like that. So please never take it that way. But on Monday, I made close to like 5-6 grand, right? I had 2 on QQQ. I had 2 from like GME, and then what else? Tesla, the puts on that. QQQ, or I already mentioned QQQ. What am I saying? QQQ and Tesla, I went short on both of those. And then GME, right? So, I mean, I made a good amount of money on Monday, and if I ever lose 5K trying to chase back, or like, let's say I like lose everything from Monday, I would never try to chase back 5K, because then you can put yourself on a 10K hole, right? So just be aware of not only your emotions, but how things can slip away really quickly in trading. Always buy time. Like, I should have, even on Starbucks, man, I probably should have gone like a week out. I don't think those contracts would have gotten crushed the way they did. Although I haven't seen it like that in a long time. But yeah, it is what it is. I did everything in one take, guys. Let's give me a round of applause. Woo! Usually it takes me a little bit longer to get these out because I have to go multiple cuts and like edit it and whatnot. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I guess we might as well include like a quick little thing that I'm watching. I don't know why this turned out blue, guys. I'm sorry. Remember I talked about the nature of these meme stocks. They usually trap people with IV, right? And then it'll pull back and people will start averaging down. But their contracts don't ever really recover because they're still buying on high IV, right? So the key is to get out on high IV and the dollar or the delta gamma pump, and then just wait, right? So I think a lot of people are still going to feel a lot of pain from this. That's why I said be very careful, add very sparingly. I added like 2 or 3. I honestly don't know what I said. I'm pretty sure I could pull up my Robinhood. I probably should tell you guys exactly how much I have, because this is a Robinhood position right now. So I was looking to put about 5,400 total. I only have, I think, 1,400 total. Not even that's a lie. So I only have $1,070 in this right now. I have 3 contracts with an average of 2.47. Okay, that's into the June 21st position, so I don't really have that much in this, but I added here, and that's all I'm doing for now, just in case it got that pop, which we did not get today. Volume's really nice, though. It's a well-controlled inside bar right at the low or lower extreme of the gap. Not the lower extreme, I'm sorry, the beginning of the gap. Lower extreme down here at 1968 is where I'm looking to go full, right? So if we can break down, maybe retest, right, and then pull down and kind of hold here. I'm okay with even a sweep, right? I'm not going to add right as it touches. I want to see buyers come in. Remember, this is very similar to back here. If we go to the hourly, you guys will see it's a close, the candle close to a gap up, right, which is way up here, yeah, with the open. So there's a daily gap, but there's also a hidden gap here because of the open to close to the open gap up. So you might get a sweep again. That's similar to last time, and then we get a big move like this. And then ideally, this thing fucking fills right here, right? That's kind of what we're looking for. And we want to see a lot of volume come in right here. So that's the chef's kiss right there. That's the entry. It's very similar to this one back here. So yeah, that's what I'm going to be looking for to go. Like I said, I'm probably going to add like $5,400 into GameStop. Last time I only added, I think it was 2,300, and I pulled about, what, I think a 2,500, 2,600, with like 2 contracts left, and then I added a little bit more today. So I mean, dude, it's very easy to make money on this. I've in total doing the same exact thing with GameStop. I've made about like 8K, right? Kind of just taking advantage of the ranges, closing out when I need to, and being responsible, and then knowing when to add back in. So I mean, there's a good opportunity here. I still think we can collect really low. I mean, you got to think how low this range is. This is virtually at the bottom. So if we can just get it on low IV or an IV cool off, and then get it back up to fucking to 33, guys, and that's a 74% move on the underlying. You got to remember, if this starts to pump, though, you can't really chase these. So I mean, as it gets further and further away, you're obviously going to lose those gains, but you're also going to be buying high IV, and you're going to be further away from risk. So that's why I took some ads. Hopefully it makes sense as to like, okay, well, if Josh thinks it's going to go lower, why is he adding? Well, I don't want to miss the whole thing, right? I want to have at least 3 contracts or 4, because without IV, just kind of going based off of like the delta and the gamma, this should get to like $700 to $1,000 per contract. When I say $700, right? So $700 to $1,000 per contract. I'm not even including the IV and the Vega because I don't know what those would be. Those are unaccounted for. So I mean, this could be a really big trade. So yeah, that's it for GameStop. Tesla, boys, I should have added with you guys today. It's all good. What does this look like? What is happening, gentlemen? Oh, there you go. All my colors are so messed off. I said off, but I don't know what I'm saying. I've been talking too long. This is what happens. My brain gets fried when I go without a cut. Oh my God, what am I saying? But yeah, like, I just don't trust this, guys. I really don't trust this. I think this is going to break to the downside. I didn't want to say it because I know some of the people in the Discord are already long on this. I just don't think it happens. I don't. I would rather trade this on a break above 180, which I'm not a breakout trader, but I'd rather see break 180, and then I think it goes to the top right here, which would be 187 to 185, but I don't trust it. I think the floor is going to fall out here. Honestly, at like 172, I think it's going to trade to this buy side liquidity or this swing low here, which is, we'll make it white for you guys, which is at 167.75, and I think it comes like this, right? I think it's going to break. Maybe it retests 172. I have no idea, but it's going to sweep, retest, and then maybe go like this. I don't want to see it to go to the gap, though. So, I mean, even this might be off what I just drew if I'm being real. I mean, I think it's going to sweep. I think it's going to be a quick move under. So maybe it, like, drops, retests, flushes like that, and then it recovers back above, right? Kind of recovers over, like, a couple of days, maybe one day. And I think we're going to get something like this, right, where it starts to really fucking aggressively pop out. But remember, I talked about it. Down here at the 618 is where I want to take my entry, right? I want to go pretty heavy. I'll be willing to risk and add to 157.51. Moment we start to break into the gap, right, I'm out. It's invalidated. I'd rather wait for the gap fill to happen. But I have lines everywhere, kind of going, you know, being a little sporadic with my drawings, so I apologize. But I just don't trust this, long story short. So that is what it is on that one. What else do we got? And that's really it. I mean, Apple, told you guys what would potentially happen. Didn't go exactly as planned, unfortunately, right? I was expecting 192.5 to kind of be our top. We had a bear flag look or just lower volume kind of pushing up towards this spot here, and I was expecting it, if you guys watched the scan last night, for just it to sell underneath that, right, underneath the bar by bar higher lows, and then make its way progressively down to 187. Unfortunately, this morning we opened and kind of pumped up towards that spot again, so I was unsure. I didn't want to fade potential strength because this was moving pretty nicely, but we ended up pushing towards the top. We really flatlined here into this supply, which we already knew this was supply, but this whole range kind of helps, right? You guys can see that. So I was like, oh, okay, cool. This could be a short here. That's why I put, I did the red candle, my bad. That's why I kind of put, hey, this looks like a short. I put it in the chat because it started to flatline right over we saw. But obviously this was the first high. We broke down, made a higher low. Then what did we do? We pushed back up, flatlined again, but high, lower high. And then we ended up having a really nice potential break of structure, right, where we had our higher low, our relative equal lows here that lined up once again really nicely with this here. So all we needed was a break under and a retest of, right? So we kind of got that on the lower time frames. If you guys take a look here, we broke under, we pushed back up and retested 190, 120, which once again was the higher low. This is your break of structure. So just a retest of that, and then obviously it faded all the way down. So that's why I put in the chat, like, hey, I wish I would have taken that. It's all good, though. I mean, my eyes have been pretty much set on Tesla and GameStop because GameStop's treated me really well. If something keeps feeding me, I'm going to keep going back to that chart. And I think a lot of traders need to work on that more, including myself, right? Like I've done it plenty of times in the past. So it's something that I'm working on. And yeah, I'm going to keep going back to that chart as long as it doesn't reach target, but it still has healthy pullbacks and healthy corrections that are mitigated and going to key supports or gaps, right, that I know are being bid. I'm going to keep doing it, right? And I'm pretty adamant on it getting back to 33. So it is what it is, right? I'm not gonna fret about it, and I'm not gonna go looking for the next best thing because there's a great chart there in GameStop and Tesla as well. Just got to be patient with those. So. Oh, I've been going on for 26 minutes, guys. I haven't done like an unedited version on this for a while, so hopefully you guys enjoy. Hopefully it makes sense. Hopefully I didn't stumble over my words. Hopefully my pacing was good. I try to like measure all these things while I'm actually recording, and obviously when I'm editing, and I can go back really quickly. Oh yeah. So tomorrow, let's talk about this. Never mind. Let's not talk about this. I'll just do this in the daily recap, or not the daily recap. Okay, I need to get off the mic, guys. I'm messing up with the nightly scan. I'll talk about this on there. Okay, see you guys.